what the psychedelic experience can be like, and taking a perspective of not just what occasions during an experience, but what it helps to unfold. And so when people speak of their experiences with LSD, ayahuasca, mushrooms, any sacred psychedelics, the topic of death may come up, the topic of purpose and connection and unity, oneness, love. And this can come about through simply lifting into those energies and feeling the euphoria associated with them, the gratitude, the forgiveness, the love, the compassion. It can also come about with diving deeply into our patterns, pattern beliefs, pattern behaviors, the unseen habits that really run the show, run our lives, for better or worse. They come about as programmed conditioning from childhood or adolescence, through teachers, mentors, parents, media, friends, anything really. And it allows us to step back, see them, transcend beyond them, and then land into those higher frequency energies. It can also have a peeling back of the curtain effect, where we take a closer look at how we collectively live our lives, what our culture deems normal or appropriate, the systems we have in place, how they truly make us feel, which is often, not always, often smaller, less empowered, less divine and sovereign in our own beings, and a little less freedom. We don't feel as free to move and be as we would like to, with so many systems governing us. And that I bring that to our awareness now, just to speak to what can begin to have a breakdown in the individual during a ceremony, during a plant medicine psychedelic experience, taking the longer view of where we are in our culture. It's not permanent, it's not forever. Just taking a really good look at where we stand right now and whether or not it feels like it serves our true nature, whether or not it serves humanity, serves the planet. So sometimes we come through the fires of feeling a lot of different emotions around that. Maybe feeling some rage about handing over our freedoms, or having our parents or grandparents or ancestors taking those initial steps, little by little, handing over our freedom. But it also may feel like this too shall pass. This too shall pass. It's all okay. It's all okay. I'm always free to choose my next thought, eliciting my next emotion, my next feeling, allowing for more likened thoughts, more likened feelings to come. And in that, there is always freedom. We always have the freedom of choice, free will. It governs supreme on this plane of existence, even when we are in the midst of choosing some form of bondage. And so, what happens when you are sitting in we'll use a slower psychedelic as an example rather than something like Bufo or DMT. So you sit with the medicine, and there's a little bit of a waiting period for it to fully make its presence known. So often, if you're casually with a group, you may just be chatting, getting set up, walking. If you're in a more intentional setting, you're sitting, you're meditating, you're breathing, you're praying. And then you might first notice it as various sensations in the body. Maybe a little queasiness. Maybe you'll notice some movement in the body. Vibrational, or as if something is shifting within you. Some people describe it as like the serpent uncoiling and beginning to ascend the spine. Some people may feel that more in the legs, especially if you have some acute trauma and you don't notice feeling in your legs as much. And then you may lean more into your breath, the breath helping to settle the stomach, to settle any nerves, feeling like the cells of your body are vibrating a little faster. And then you may begin to see some visuals, either with your eyelids closed or your eyes open. Patterns, geometry, sacred geometry, subtle colors and movements. Depending on the strength of it, may remain subtle, mildly pleasing or interesting. It may really catch your attention and become something you focus on. And as you focus on these patterns, they may start to take more of a living presence and form. May begin to see figures or faces or entire scenes, animals. You may feel as if autonomous entities or beings are standing very close to you or somewhere else in the room. If there are other people in the space, you may see them take on different shapes. You may see different aspects around them. And you may see the entire, whether your eyes are open or closed, you may see everything moving as one. Intricately detailed and undulating, moving, vibrating, as if the fabric of reality is patterns in perpetual motion. And as you direct your focus and your thoughts to any particular part, you may see it begin to evolve. And if you are particularly aware, you may recognize the power of your energy and your focused awareness on this energy, on any given being or object or spot in the air. You may recognize your effect, how it changes as you change, or how it changes as you are. So truly experiencing the world as your mirror. And so those patterns that may or may not need to be seen to be released, recognized to be released, they may assert themselves in this space. That can be looped thinking. That can be just a mirroring of how you carry yourself, the energies most active within you or in your field. So if you've been having a hard time, if you've been mostly beating yourself up with your thoughts, taking a negative point of view, you may notice things morph into sort of what you may see as a darker palette. And everyone's different. Dragons can be exciting for some people and magical and horrifying, and same is true for any given symbol. We all have our own unique associations with them. And so, of course, there are symbolic meanings that run as through lines for all of humanity, but it's also culture to culture and, of course, person to person. We all may have very different feelings about horses or clowns. So prioritize in your witnessing how you feel in that moment, and also what you associate with it on a personal level. And of course, always coming back to the breath. If things feel too intense, or even if it feels really, really good, breathing deeply and slowly, intentionally, will bring you back to yourself. It'll also allow you to go deeper and have things unfold. It just depends on what you are feeling in that moment. And anytime you relax, you have the opportunity to go deeper into it. You also have the opportunity to shift what is occurring at that time. So, for some people, even just witnessing the effect of their thoughts on reality, like seeing the true power of your thoughts, seeing that your thoughts create things, yes, but your thoughts are creating your own reality. And seeing that play out in a way that is visual and you can feel it. It can be intense. It can also be liberating. It can really bring your awareness to the preciousness of where you allow your mind to wander. The thoughts pop in, thoughts go. That is no problem. But where do you stick around? Where do you put your focus? Where do you really spend your energy and your time? Are the thoughts telling you how you can be better? Which of course is also telling you how you're not perfect right here and now. That there's a lack of acceptance for the here and now. And these are just tools to transform the landscape of your experience as it's unfolding. as there are many paths to get the same destination. And one path may be a death experience, the small death, the ego death. That sensation of losing your identity, losing the things you call home in the material way, losing your roles, identity, your persona. Who am I if I'm not this? Who am I if I'm not this? I am. I am. I am. It reminds me of the story of the salt baby. Salt baby just wanted to go see the ocean. And when she got there, she realized as the waves were lapping over her, she was disappearing. I'm disappearing. I'm disappearing. And then at last, I am the ocean. So those moments of transition or perceived transition, facing our fears, can be scary. But we transcend and go through transitions not to experience that suffering for more than a moment, if at all, but to practice the expansion and connectedness and love into all, and then refocusing, if you choose, into a created or co-created experience, becoming human once again. And this dance between spirit and human is really fundamental to the psychedelic experience, fundamental to the idea of there is much more. Life is the breath of the universe, and death is simply the recycling process. Death is a chance to reunite with all that is. In the middle of your experience, you may find an opportunity to move positions. And that could look like lying down if you've been sitting up, rolling onto your side if you've been lying down. It may mean getting up and stepping outside, regrounding, getting fresh air. And if you're already outside, it may simply mean moving just enough to get a new view, a new perspective. And it changes the entire experience. What's unfolding in one moment can be shifted immediately. The energy that moves your body can also shift the energy of the entire surrounding area if you allow it to. And in these spaces where your senses are more sensitive, more highly tuned, you see more, you hear more, you feel more, you likely smell more, taste more, because you're focused on the subtleties and the energies of everything. Because all of these are energies, our senses. We know it's electrical pulses within our body. So if we're so focused inward and in the immediate here and now, we'll see how subtle all of these energies are, how easily they shift and change. And that can feel like a lot, or that can be the most empowering thing you'll ever experience. So I look here and I have a brand new experience. The environment brightens, I brighten, my breath deepens. I feel whole, I feel happy. And if you allow that focus to be directed by your heart, by your intentions, by what it is you truly want to experience, you'll have exactly the intended experience you came for, in the most unique and remarkable way possible. You'll begin to celebrate, you'll begin to rejoice, you'll feel that gratitude, you'll feel that oneness and connection, recognizing the grass you're sitting upon is having just as much of an energetic effect on you as the sky above, as the plants around, as the heart of the earth beneath, as the people in the space, as the quality of your breath, as the clothing on you, as the temperature of the air, the breeze, the rain, the sun, particularly the sun. Another visual cue that may or may not occur is if you're in the sunshine, you will see the rainbow rays everywhere. You'll see the web of life. You'll see the rainbow web that connects absolutely everything. As if the rays of the sun, which creates rainbows, is broken down, looks to our vision as a sequence of rainbows. You'll see it both reflecting off of things, allowing the rainbows threading from there, and everything shining its own light, its own rainbow light. So seeing a world in which everything is created from that, and that is our world. But you'll see, it's possible to see the rainbow version of that. Still has form, still that presence, the energy, in some cases having beings, and you can begin to imagine how animism was the first spirituality, the first religion, the belief that everything has spirit, and you may see those spirits, you may see the forms in rainbow of spirit in just a particular spot on the land, in a particular tree, maybe just be in the air, maybe sitting right beside you. And of course, there's no end to what you could possibly see or experience. It's just sharing the things that I've experienced and have heard others have experienced as well. So there are some common threads and commonalities. And of course, there's been a great deal made of the Tibetan Book of the Dead and how what is described in what is said to be experienced in the first 40 or so, 42 maybe, 40 some days after death. There's different bardos, different levels and worlds, and first the beings come large and loving and angelic. And then if you do not go into the light, they become more horrifying. So they flip to the other aspect as if to chase you into the light. And so it goes into great detail describing these levels and layers and bardos, worlds, dimensions. And myself and others, we've described the psychedelic experience having very similar traits. So that is roughly what can be experienced during a sacred psychedelic sitting. And then afterwards, as you're coming out of it, you'll feel more present in your life, but you'll feel that lightness of being. You'll feel that joy, you'll feel that release, and that gratitude, such deep gratitude for yourself and the earth and the people around you and that process. And you may feel like you just want to hold on to it as long as you can. You can't even imagine it going away, really, because you feel like yourself again. You feel present and almost fully functional and able to converse and play and move freely and love and enjoy music and dance and that bliss of being. And that is a return to your natural state. This period of time, once the psychedelic experience has mostly come to an end, even if it was a hard one, even if you find yourself in a pool of tears, there's an immense gratitude that comes up. And if this is not your experience, there's nothing wrong with that. There's just a greater deal of processing and integration and support that may be needed during that time. So go gently with yourself, love yourself. I've heard those who have had not very wanted experiences speak of like, why did the mushrooms do this to me? Why did I experience it this way? As if having your own unique experience is somehow wrong. And to that I just say, keep being with it and whatever is needing to be expressed. So if you're disappointed, let yourself be disappointed. Really let yourself feel it and move it. And then get curious about it. And then once you feel it's shown you all it can show, find a way to step out of that loop. Because sometimes we can get a little obsessive. Why did this happen to me? Why did this happen to me? As if it's a trauma. And I want to acknowledge that there are some who feel it that way. And maybe it's because they didn't really want the experience. They didn't want to do it. They didn't want to be with the people they were with, or whatever it may be. Just accepting that we may not always have the best of circumstances, and we strive to do better, to create safer spaces for us to feel like we can fully relax and release and be vulnerable, to find those spaces of pure non-judgment. And of course, it isn't perfect, but if we keep our sights on what did I get and not create that enormous gap of what I wanted and how it wasn't what I wanted. Don't fall into that gap. Allow yourself to be with whatever the emotion may be, disappointment, and then create from there the intentional little baby step guide for yourself of moving into feeling a little bit better about it, feeling at least a little bit neutral, and just celebrating every moment, every day that passes, where you have that forgiveness and coming to terms with what happened. And the forgiveness aspect, I love, there's these words we use all the time We don't realize how nebulous the definitions are. And that's a hallmark of the signs of, like, these are different aspects and energies of the true source energy, the energy of love. Things that we all know and feel and experience, but it's a little more difficult to define. And forgiveness is one of those energies, and it's moving from a state of resistance into a state of allowing and acceptance and love. So it's a return to your divine nature. And gratitude is another one of those. If you look it up, gratitude is defined with thankfulness, and thankfulness is defined with gratitude. So these are energies of love and acknowledgement. And so anytime you weave these energies into whatever you're feeling, if you're depressed, if you're horrified, if you're angry, if you're disappointed, if you're frustrated, if you're overwhelmed, weave these energies in. Find something like, how can I possibly be thankful that I'm overwhelmed? Be thankful that you woke up this morning, that you got a glimpse of sunshine. Be thankful for, or forgive, or use forgiveness to, I'm overwhelmed, but I won't be forever, and it's okay. It's okay that this is where I am right now. I love myself. I love whatever is possibly nurturing at this moment. This warm blanket, this glass of water, this warm cup of coffee, whatever it may be. And so now I am gonna step away from describing what it can be like to sit in the psychedelic realm. And I was beginning to describe when and where it might be absolutely necessary to process and integrate with someone holding space for you. But ultimately, you know what you need. You know. It's a recognizing what shifted for you and what keeps you from being in that space all the time. And that's not a treasure hunt of finding like, well, it's because of this person. No, it's all energetic. It's all within you. It's all a shift of perspective. So, best of luck to you on your journey through life. And if you have any questions or are there any parts you felt were confusing, please reach out. I'm Melissa Jessel. You can find me at www.goldensoulful.com. All right.